Hello and welcome. Today we are looking at a simple truth about human nature. It is perfectly summarized in this phrase: if you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. Let's go back to May 7, 1931, to the climax of the most sensational manhunt New York City had ever known. The police had cornered Two Gun Crowley, a killer who didn't smoke or drink, in a top-floor apartment. 150 policemen chopped holes in the roof and tried to smoke out the cop killer with tear gas. They mounted machine guns on surrounding buildings, and for over an hour, the area reverberated with pistol fire and machine guns. Crowley fired incessantly from behind a chair while 10,000 excited people watched. When he was captured, the police commissioner called Crowley one of the most dangerous criminals in New York history, saying he would kill at the drop of a feather. But how did Crowley regard himself? While the police were firing into his apartment, he wrote a letter. He wrote, "Under my coat is a weary heart, but a kind one that would do nobody any harm." Just a short time before, a policeman had simply asked to see his license. Crowley drew his gun without a word and cut the policeman down with a shower of lead. Yet, when Crowley arrived at the death house in Sing Sing prison, he didn't say, "This is what I get for killing people." He said, "This is what I get for defending myself." The point is, Two Gun Crowley didn't blame himself for anything. This attitude is not unusual among criminals. Al Capone, America's most sinister gang leader, actually regarded himself as an unappreciated and misunderstood public benefactor. Dutch Schultz, one of New York's most notorious rats, also said in a newspaper interview that he was a public benefactor, and he truly believed it. Warden Lewis Laws of Sing Sing prison declared that few criminals there regard themselves as bad men. They rationalize and attempt to justify their antisocial acts even to themselves. If desperate men and women behind prison walls don't blame themselves, what about the people you and I come in contact with? John Wanamaker, the store founder, confessed that he learned it is foolish to scold. The truth is that 99 times out of 100, people don't criticize themselves for anything, no matter how wrong it may be. Criticism is futile because it puts a person on the defensive and usually makes him strive to justify himself. It is dangerous because it wounds a person's precious pride, hurts his sense of importance, and arouses resentment. The great psychologist Hans Selye said, "As much as we thirst for approval, we dread condemnation." Consider George B. Johnston, a safety coordinator who had to ensure employees wore hard hats. When he ordered them with authority, he received sullen acceptance, and the workers often removed the hats after he left. He changed his approach and pleasantly asked if the hats were uncomfortable. He reminded them in a pleasant tone that the hat was designed to protect them. This resulted in increased compliance with no resentment. You can find examples of the futility of criticism bristling on 1,000 pages of history. Take the quarrel between Theodore Roosevelt and President Taft, which split the Republican Party and altered the flow of history. Roosevelt blamed Taft for a disastrous defeat, but Taft didn't blame himself. With tears in his eyes, Taft said, "I don't see how I could have done any differently from what I have." Roosevelt's criticism merely made Taft strive to justify himself. Or look at the Teapot Dome oil scandal. Albert B. Ford handed a juicy contract for government oil reserves to his friend without competitive bidding. When the scandal blew wide open, Ford was viciously condemned and put behind bars. Did he repent? Never. His wife even screamed that her husband was the one who had been betrayed and crucified. That is human nature in action, wrongdoers blaming everybody but themselves. Criticisms are like homing pigeons, they always return home. Even Abraham Lincoln struggled with this. As a young man, he openly attacked opponents in published letters. In 1842, he ridiculed a politician named James Shields. Shields challenged Lincoln to a duel. They prepared to fight to the death with cavalry broadswords, but their second stopped the duel at the last minute. That lurid incident taught Lincoln an invaluable lesson. From that time on, he almost never criticized anybody. When his generals blundered tragically during the Civil War, he held his peace, quoting, "Judge not, that ye be not judged." During the Battle of Gettysburg, General Lee's army was trapped by an impassable river. Lincoln saw a golden opportunity to capture Lee and end the war, ordering General Meade to attack immediately. Meade directly violated the order, hesitated, procrastinated, and allowed Lee to escape. In bitter disappointment, Lincoln wrote Meade a letter stating that his golden opportunity was gone and that he was distressed immeasurably. But Lincoln never mailed it. He knew that sending it would only make Meade condemn him and perhaps force his resignation. He had learned that sharp rebukes almost invariably end in futility. Benjamin Franklin became so diplomatic that he was made American ambassador to France. His secret: "I will speak ill of no man," he said, "and speak all the good I know of everybody." We see this with great leaders today. Bob Hoover, a famous test pilot, lost both engines because a mechanic accidentally fueled his plane with jet fuel instead of gasoline. The young mechanic was sick with the agony of his mistake, tears streaming down his face. Hoover didn't scold or criticize him. Instead, he put his arm around the man's shoulder and asked him to service his F-51 tomorrow. We can apply this at home, too. In the classic piece, Father Forgets, by W. Livingston Land, a father sits by his sleeping son's cot, overwhelmed by a stifling wave of remorse. He had scolded the boy all day for dabbing his face with a towel, throwing things on the floor, and gulping down food. He even humiliated the boy in front of his friends over expensive stockings. Despite the constant reprimanding, the boy ran in with a tempestuous plunge, threw his arms around his father's neck, and kissed him with pure affection. The father realized that his habit of finding fault was his reward to his son just for being a boy. He confessed, "I was measuring you by the yardstick of my own years." He promised to bite his tongue and remember that his son was still a baby. Instead of condemning people, let's try to understand them and figure out why they do what they do. That breeds sympathy, tolerance, and kindness. To know all is to forgive all. Any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do. But it takes character and self-control to be understanding and forgiving. Remember Principle 1: don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Thank you for listening.